What's up, little android? SonicFanGal here. If you haven't heard of me before, be sure you check out my other pages as I got a lot of other content. Also, be sure you check out my books as I've got a lot of books to check out and everything. Be sure you hit the like button. Also, be sure you subscribe so that way I can get up to 600 subs. Alright, so what we're going to be doing is a makeup video. Yay! Girl stuff and all that. Okay, so now that I've got all the boys out of the way, this is mostly for girls. So, yeah, let's get started with this, shall we? Because it is almost 2 a.m. and I am running on 3 hours sleep. So, great! Okay, well, first let me clarify that this is not a review for any specific kind of birth control. But that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about today is birth control. So, let me get started with this. As some of you may know, if you're subscribed to me, of course, which a lot of you are not subscribed. But for those of you who are, and for those of you who know me, know that I have premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or PMDD for short. So, I have that hormonal imbalance. So because of that, I've been trying to look for like different routes to go on. I was taking like vitamins, magnesium, all that stuff, and nothing was working. So I finally set up an appointment with an OBGYN. She was very nice. I told her about my PMDD, and she actually diagnosed me with it. And that's when she decided to put me on microgestin, which is also called loloestrin. So, first of all, my parents wanted me on birth control anyway. This was like back in 2022, and I was not married at the time, so I was still living there. And I was like, well, I might as well just try birth control. I've tried every other option. Let me just say this for reference. I've never felt like taking birth control. Like, I just never did. I never really thought of the idea. Because I was actually doing your body temperature, BBT. And I was just going to stick with that. But that was not going to work for me. But I had went to the gynecologist and they had put me on that. So I figured I would try it. So April 5th, I got diagnosed. And then on that later Sunday, I got to take my first dose of loloestrin. So with loloestrin, the first 2 weeks were not bad. Like, I actually didn't really hate it that much. Like, so far it was actually going pretty well. I was doing pretty good at work. My work performance was slightly improving, and then it went downhill. Like, my depression started coming back. Then I took off to the beach that next month. And just before we had left, I started my period. And I was like, well, okay, this is just your regular period, so not a big deal, right? Wrong. I had a period for 14 days when I got back from the beach. And I was like, well, I was trying to go to the beach and have fun. I wasn't trying to spend it all on my period. So when I got back, I was still bleeding heavily. And I don't know if other girls do this or not. I don't know. But I get clots. And by clots, I mean clots. Like, this big for clots. I'll give you a reference. And I don't know if other girls have it. I've talked to some girls and not everyone has that. So it's apparently a trait on my mom's side. So I didn't have those with the birth control. So I was a little concerned about that. I was. And let me show you something. This is what I use for blush, by the way. Just reference. But I was a little bit anxious and I was worried because I'm anemic, and then I was like, well, I don't want to lose like a lot of blood and everything. So I finally called the nurses and I was like, hey, I need to know what to do here because this has been terrible and I don't know what is going on here. And they were like, well, here's what happens, and you're just trying to get used to it and all this. And I was like, get used to it. Okay, well, that's fine. I'll just wait a little bit longer, I guess. And it just kept going, and I finally had stopped. So there was that. Then there was just the constant depression, like just constant. It would not leave. I was like really angry. I was really having a hard time with things. And I kept getting acne really bad. And I started getting these cramps that are kind of like yeast infection cramps. And those to me hurt worse than period cramps. And I'm just being honest when I say that. It's like a certain weird feeling. But I kept getting like a lot of weird discharge. I kept getting a lot of like weird acne here and there, like just cystic acne, and my boobs would hurt a lot. It was just crazy with all that. Then I started developing dryness, if you know what I mean. Like it started just all of a sudden, and my sex drive, my libido went skyrocketing downward. And it was like, what is going on here? So I went on June 21st to get my first pap smear, my first cervical exam. If you don't know what that is, it's not supposed to hurt. Okay, let me just put it that way right now. It's not supposed to hurt. It's supposed to feel uncomfortable and a little weird. I will be honest, it's supposed to, but it doesn't hurt. It's not supposed to, but mine did. So, like, my first time there, to me, I don't really feel awkward about doctors seeing me and stuff. I just never have. I mean, they see stuff all day long, so to me, I wasn't really worried about it. So, I sat there, and it hurt really bad. Like, it felt like someone was trying to tear me apart. And I was like, this can't be normal. This can't. From what I Googled and from what I've heard from other people, it wasn't supposed to, like, hurt that bad, but it did. Like, I almost screamed out it was bad. And I normally don't like really showing pain, so that was really hard for me. So, after that, I was, like, just a little weirded out. Then came this weight. I know doctors say that birth control does not cause weight gain, that they don't have calories in them, but they cause something. Like, I had heard from other people, oh, well, birth control actually helped me to lose weight and all this. It didn't me. I was just gaining weight nonstop. I was eating nonstop. It was like I had to eat something. I was eating 4 meals in one. And I hated it. I was miserable. I was very miserable. And I just thought, maybe this is just the pill and everything, because I had never thought about studying the pill and stuff, because to me, I was never really interested in it. But then came the marriage and the honeymoon, and ladies, sex is not supposed to hurt. It's not. And I was in pain. I spent my honeymoon in the bathroom crying most of the whole time. And I hated it. I despised my body. I didn't know what was going on with me. And it hurt really bad. And it actually made me just hate and touching entirely. I hated being touched. I hated being hugged. I hated Holding hands, I hated it all. I didn't like it. I just wanted to be kept to myself, far away from anybody. Like, I just couldn't do it. It hurt too much. And people were just like, well, you're just getting used to this and all this stuff. And that's not true. You don't just get used to that. So I just thought I would clarify that with some girls, because sex is not supposed to hurt. Not in that way at all. So then I went to my mom, and I just had told her, I was like, this just is uncomfortable and everything. Nobody really listened to me. Everyone just was like, well, I mean, this is probably just new for you and all this stuff. And I was like, this isn't right. This can't be right. So I had spent a lot of time just trying to research, trying to find what I can and what I can't find, all this stuff. And I kept eating a lot, and I just kept going with all this. My periods, I will say this, my periods were lighter, but they hurt so much. Like, in the light sense, it just hurt. And I hated it. I hated whenever I had gotten my period, because then it would stay for days on end, and I felt stuck. I felt lost. I just felt awful. But I had also gotten prescribed Prozac in June. So I was also taking Prozac at that time as well. And I was like, well, I don't know if this works or not and all this. And I was very careful of what not to take and what to take and all this. I was trying to be very careful and patient with things, but it was really hard. It took a long time for me to realize, maybe I should just get off the pill. Because I had realized, I was gaining weight. By the time that I had first started to get off the pill, like when it first started, I was 255 pounds. 255. And I will admit, I've always struggled with my weight. But with the birth control, it was like I was there. And I was like, holy cow. Like, this was probably my heaviest I had ever been. So that was like my first time that, I noticed, I had been gaining weight and there was nothing I could do about it. So I was like, well, I just better decide on this. And at first, this is one thing I hate. It's kind of bittersweet in a way. But my dog had passed away on November 16th at 3 in the morning. And I was devastated. I was heartbroken. I was angry. And I was just really going through a hard time mentally and emotionally. And so I skipped the pills. I skipped by a couple of days. And I have to say, that was probably the easiest time I had had. Because I wasn't, like, feeling as hungry, and I wasn't sitting there, like, in a lot of pain, and it just kind of went away. So I was like, well, maybe this'll work. So, talking to a gynecologist about quitting the pill it's a little hard to do, but it's not, like, absolutely terrible. So I kind of sat there and I told them, and I was like, look, the reason why I wanted the birth control was because I was just trying it for my premenstrual dysphoric disorder. I wasn't using it to, avoid pregnancy. So to me, I didn't really need a reason to have it. So I told them, that I got off it, that I wanted off it. Then I had to call the pharmacy and tell them, I'm no longer on the birth control. But it was so hard when I was taking it, because I had kept seeing these commercials. They were like, meet Lolo, and Lolo does this and that and everything. And I was like so mad. I was like, Oh yeah, sure. Sure. It makes sex feel like absolute torture. It makes everything feel like absolute torture, and you're just to the point to where you just are like, don't talk to me ever. So that was actually very funny to me. So I officially quit the pill January 1st. And it was my sugar pills, which, by the way, sugar pills are not what you'd think. They're placebo pills, which means they don't really have an effect. That's supposed to be when your period starts. It isn't. To me, like when I was on birth control, it would start all over the place. Like I would be on my first week starting, and then my second week or my third week, and it was always just something back and forth. And I couldn't keep up. Like there were days that I had just started, and then I would start again after just finishing, and it was like, what in the world, dude? I was so mad. And I was like just over it at that point. So, when I had quit it was definitely a little scary because I had heard, about quitting and some of the side effects to it and stuff, and I was a little bit scared. I will be honest, I was scared because I was like, oh Lord, what if I screwed myself over? But I was trying to think of another way to keep myself safe. So we decided on a different method of birth control. And no, it's not the patch. One of my friends actually got pregnant on the patch. With me, I want to get pregnant, but not right now. For one thing, because I am overweight, and I know I am. I'm just going to be honest, I am overweight. And it's something that I've just had to come to terms with. So I'm trying to lose weight so that way I can have a healthy pregnancy. I have tocophobia, which is the fear of dying in childbirth, or the fear of having your child die, or the fear of both of you dying. It's just a fear of pregnancy all around. I don't know why I have this. I didn't used to. And so I'm fighting that on top of everything else. I think maybe the birth control pill might have caused it. Maybe. I don't know. My mom had my brother and I via C-section. So she never would explain to me, like, oh, you gotta push and all this. She never explained that to me because she never had to do it. I was a breech baby, and my mom just had an elective C-section with my brother. So there was that. I just was a little scared, and I think it was just because of the birth control and everything, and I think that is what caused it. So I was just having a hard time with the pill, with all these situations that I had. So with the first time quitting, I still have the pack. I still have like the empty one as like a reminder. I'm a little weird about stuff like that. Like it's just kind of like a reminder to me, like, oh, guess what? You got out of this. So I was actually very happy. And as for Prozac, I haven't really gotten off it yet, as I'm still trying to deal with that too. But I gotta say, Prozac has actually really helped me. The pill wasn't helping me. It was actually just making me worse. And it's sad because a lot of girls with my disorder, a lot of us, nobody really knows what it is. So people will sit there and be like, oh, well, try this vitamin, or try this mineral water, and try having this, or try this tea herb, or try having this or that, and it's always something. And birth control was one of the options. So I was like, well, I guess I can just try birth control then. So that's what I was going to do, was try birth control. And so far that had worked there for a while. and it just gotten way worse from there. So I didn't tell my mom at first. It wasn't really even my mom. It was mostly my dad telling me, you know, oh, you need to be on the pill and all this. And I know I shouldn't let people control what I want with my body. So that, I'm not even going to get into that. I was trying to get into it because, like I said, it wasn't even to avoid pregnancy. I didn't really care at that time. I was just using it to see if it would even work. But it actually, I don't know if some of you remember my older video about Backdrum and, you know, my vitamins I took for my PMDD. I'll just leave a link in the description for that video. Excuse me. I just thought that it would be a good thing to reference. And I was on Backdrum, and I just remember how bad Backdrum was for me. And the pill, while it wasn't, you know, necessarily terrible when it came to like hallucinogens and stuff, it had its different forms. And I can remember I had once taken a Plan B just to test out birth control. This was like back in July of 2022. I know, I was being stupid, and I was like, well, this can't be any worse. No, don't do that. Okay, Plan B is emergency contraception. So please, for the love of God, do not take it for birth control. Please, you'll just, it's awful. Especially if you have PMDD. Because I came to find out that with PMDD and with that Plan B, it really screws you up. Like, I was hearing all sorts of weird things. I honestly thought I was actually going crazy. It was actually like the exact same type of issues that I had with Backdrum. And that one video I had made, which I'm still ashamed of, but I keep it on there to, I guess, spread awareness, so to speak. I keep it on there for that reason. But I think I made that video around the time that I had taken that Plan B. And I guess I can also link that in the description. It was basically just me having a mental breakdown, okay? So I'd rather not show it, but you'll get the picture. It was a lot. It was a lot to go through. But I did learn, you know, not to just take emergency contraception just immediately. And, you know, it really does a lot to your hormones. Hormones are not something you should mess with. I'm just going to be honest. It really screws you over, especially if you have this disorder. And, you know, I try to be an advocate for PMDD. I try. And it's hard because people still don't really understand it a lot. I have a hard time understanding it, and I had originally self-diagnosed myself. Yes, cue the BuzzFeed jokes, like, oh, I took a personality quiz on BuzzFeed, now I think I'm part dragon or something, but I had taken a self-quiz for premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and I checked everything. I did. And I was 18 or 19. I was 18 when I got all that. So I was telling everyone, I was like, I have premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And people were like, what? People honestly thought I was like speaking alien or something. Like they had no idea what in the world I was talking about. So I was like, well, okay. And my mom, she at first didn't really believe me much, and I had to sit there. I forget what actress it was, but there was an actress that had previously had talked about having premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It was some actress. She had posted about it, and I was like, finally, someone is being out there and open about this, because I was like, good Lord, what am I going to do? So I deal with a lot of it, until I started taking Prozac. Prozac, I'm not saying it's for everyone. And, you know, I never had seen myself taking SSRIs. I had never seen myself doing that. Like, if you would have told me probably maybe 5 years ago that I would be taking antidepressants, I would have probably laughed at you. But now that I'm actually, on it, just Prozac, I'm not on birth control, I am just purely on Prozac, it has really helped in a lot of ways. Do I still have depressive spouse every now and then? You know what? Who doesn't? Okay? Nobody's life is going to be perfect. I'm not happy go lucky all the time either. I'm not happy. I'm not all these different emotions. I'm not just constantly smiling everywhere I go. I do still have some problems. Okay? But I'm happy that, I don't go through these bouts of, just existing, just going on autopilot. And a lot of girls with premenstrual dysphoric disorder go through this, whether it's in their ovulatory or in their period. So, I just thought I'd say that, and also I thought I would show you guys my finished look. Bingo. This is probably the look I'm gonna have for church, I guess. I don't know. I thought, maybe a makeup video and talking about, birth control and stuff. One thing that I wish people would talk about birth control with is, I wish people would tell, the cons of birth control. Like, I really wish people would talk about, why birth control is so changing to the female body. Like, oh, well, you'll get vaginal dryness, you'll get spotting, you'll get like week-long periods that doesn't seem to cease, you get this and that, and weight gain, and I didn't get told any of that. I just got told, oh, well, it's just birth control, and this will take XYZ days for it to hit your system. That's all I got told. And I was like, huh, okay. And there was this one woman I knew that I had worked with, and she was like, throughout her life, she was older than me. She had taken like 16 different birth controls. And it was like, holy cow. I never really wanted something that, I forget what it's called, Nexplanon. I had never wanted Nexplanon because I had heard, a lot of horror stories about it, which that's for another time. My friend had the one that goes up, where, and she had to go to the ER to get it fixed, like routine, and it was awful for her, and I hated it for her. And she had just had a baby too, so it was constant pain that she was in. So I was like, well, I'll just do the pill if nothing else. So that's what I had to do. But I just want to say, at the end of the day, it is your body. Don't have people tell you, don't take birth control or do take birth control. Because there are some people that, birth control works well for them. And I'm happy that it does. But for others, it doesn't. And I guess I'm here to speak for the others that don't. And like I said, this isn't a review of any kind. This isn't to, knock Loloestrin or anything like that. It was just a pill that just didn't work for me. And that's just what I see it as. I'm not going to sit here and, rant and rave about how bad the company is or something. I wish the best for them. It just didn't work. That's all I can say. But I was still relieved to be off it. So let me show you a post birth control, and I will start talking about birth control syndrome. So I will be right back. So Wolfie the editor, if you don't mind skipping the screen, please. Thank you. All right, so I am out of the shower now, and now I will talk about the after effects. So I have a freshly clean face and everything, so whoopee. So I stopped taking the pill on New Year's Day. It was like literally at midnight, so that's why I say New Year's Day on January 1st. And for reference, this is something that I did not know about, but after you have the pill, you're supposed to wait for your first period of after the pill. So I was like in the middle of trying to get my period back. Well, weeks went by. And I had Googled and it said that, it will take 3 days for it to just come back and, everything would be all hunky dory from there. It was not. I had actually developed something called birth control syndrome. So, birth control syndrome is where pretty much your body is stuck in limbo. Like, it's stuck in a constant PMS cycle. So you're sitting there, you feel like you're about to start. You are gaining weight like crazy, water weight especially. For most girls who don't know, some girls might not gain a lot of weight during like their PMS. Others can gain up to 5 pounds of water weight, and I am one of those. So, for instance, like this would be a lot worse, but due to me, I'm currently on my period right now, so it's not really that bad. So that is the pretty much definition of water weight when it comes to your period. So I was constantly, I was gaining weight everywhere and I could not figure out what in the world was going on with me. I was like trying to walk, I was trying to do anything I could and nothing was working. And so then I was scrolling on TikTok because I think I was about to do a video on Skinamarink or something, but I was doing something and I'd seen this lady talking about birth control syndrome, and some women don't get over it for 6 months. So I was terrified. I was like, oh, great. So I can go 6 months of this, and had no idea. I had no idea what in the world I was getting myself into. Then I started getting like this acne, which you can't really see it, but I started getting acne really bad. And I get chin hairs really bad. I get it from my great grandma. So I was like growing a beard almost. It was horrible. Like I felt like I was a billy goat. Like, like, yeah, it was bad. So I was having a lot of issues with also like skin redness. And here lately, I have been developing wrinkles. So you probably can't see it. Ignore my eyes. They're bloodshot because I was in the shower. So that always happens to me. But I was getting wrinkles really bad through here. And I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but some of these is very faint, but I have gray hair. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So I was terrified. I was like, how in the world am I losing my hair? And it's turning gray. I'm 23 years old. I won't be 24 until December. So I'm like, what's going on? So turns out after stopping birth control, some women can start having gray hair. Come to find out. And it's also got to do with your genetics. But yeah, it was awful. I hated it. I still hate it. I still have a lot of gray hairs. So I'm just trying to let, nature take its course, I guess. But it was very hard, this birth control syndrome, and I could not figure out how to get my period back on track. I couldn't figure out anything, and I was terrified. I was like, what in the world is going on with my body and all this? So finally, after a lot of walking, drinking a lot of like warm liquids, doing certain activities, I'm not going to clarify, but certain activities like walking, exercise, exertion, like if you exert yourself, it helps a little. I was definitely like walking around the house. I was trying to, get some stuff helped. And also eating foods that are like rich in protein, or I forget what it was called, but they said to eat like boiled eggs. So I was like, okay, I'll just eat boiled eggs, I guess. I was doing everything to start my period after the pill. I was like getting anxious and everything. Sure enough, it finally came, and it hurt exactly like how it did when I was on the pill. Like it hurt really bad, and it was very small. Like it wasn't what I normally have, which is like very heavy. And let me tell you, I know it sounds weird that, I would be upset about having a light period, because most women would be like, "Oh my goodness, I would take anything for that." But trust me, I know from experience, heavy periods don't even hurt as bad as light periods. Like it feels really weird to me, and it was really hard for me to deal with. So after that, I was also trying to do my BBT tracking, which what BBT is, it is basal body temperature. What I do is I wake up in the morning and I take my temperature orally. So what that is, you take your temperature for your whole cycle. Like you can see if you're ovulating, you can see if you are nearing your period, you can see if you are trying to conceive, or TTC as they call it. Um, you just follow that. Follow your temperature and go from there. I use certain apps to track my stuff. So that's what I was doing. So, of course, after your period comes ovulation. And my ovulation was very weird. So it was very awkward after, like, 1 month of not being on the pill. And I was like really starting to get scared, and I was also starting to like have I don't want to say lumps, but they felt really weird on my breasts. My breasts felt really weird and very sensitive, and it hurt all the time. So I had that a lot when I was on the pill. I got a lot of breast swelling, and it hurt. Like it honestly felt like I was constantly having someone repeatedly punching at my chest, and it was a horrible feeling. So after 1 month of post birth control, and after finally beating post birth control syndrome, I was finally, thinking, oh, I'm back on track now. But it took a lot to, get back, so to speak. Like I was starting to have weird cravings. So I was like, oh crap, I'm pregnant. And I was like terrified, because I'm like, I'm not ready for a kid right now. I'm just now off the pill and I'm going nuts. But apparently birth control can cause that too. It causes pregnancy symptoms. Some birth controls do. But one thing I really hated about quitting birth control was a lot of the comments I would get. And by comments, I don't mean like internet comments. I mean like comments from real life people. Like they would sit there and be like, well, I wouldn't get off the pill right now. Aren't you a little too, you shouldn't be doing that because you might get pregnant and all this. It's like, there's other forms of birth control out there. Like, I didn't enjoy, I finally had to tell my husband, I said, I can't keep doing this crying. I can't. I can't keep spending, like how our honeymoon was, I can't keep going into the bathroom and bawling. Because that's what I did my whole honeymoon. I kept going in there crying and squealing because I was like so upset. I didn't know what was wrong with me. And now that I know, I feel a lot better. And like I said, this isn't like a rant and a rave against birth control, but this is for the girls out there who feel uncomfortable on birth control, or feel uncomfortable, talking about the negative effects of birth control, because there has never been a perfect thing of contraception. It's never been done ever. And with the pill, it does mess with your body a bit. It can. And it did me. Believe me, it did. And I hated it. And it was really hard to jump back. But when I hadn't told my mom yet about me quitting. I still haven't even told my dad, which like I said, my dad was mainly the one with the idea. My mom was like, well, just be careful because on Prozac, now I don't know if this is 100% true, but I have heard that if you accidentally conceive on Prozac, your child will have a lot of issues. So I was a little bit scared of that. I was like, oh, great. I don't want to deal with that and everything else. So I was a little bit scared. And I was like trying to hint at mom. I was like, well, we were doing different things, and she'll be like, well, why are you doing that if you're on birth control? And I'm just like, wonderful weather we're having. We just changed the subject. Just drop little subtle hints here and there. So finally, I told her this was back in March. Yeah, I want to say it was last month. But we were talking, and I just finally felt this urge to just get it off my chest. And so I finally just said it. I just said, I'm not on birth control anymore. I quit. And she was just like, okay. And she kind of asked me a little bit of questions. She's like, are you trying to get pregnant and all this? And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to get pregnant right now. I'm not. I'm got a YouTube channel going on. I got books that I'm writing at the moment. And plus, I'm literally having gray hair right now. Like, I'm 23 going on 50. So there's no need for a kid at this moment. And it was very funny. We had a good laugh out of it. So it did go good. But what I'm saying is, you have a right to do with your own body what you want to do. Like, if you want to be on birth control, be my guest. Go ahead. I hope it does good for you. And if it doesn't, I'm just letting you know, hey, there are options out there. There are other options besides the pill. And I mean, my mom at first was like, hey, maybe we can switch you on something else. I said, no, I don't want to try birth control ever again. I am fine sticking with my BBT tracking. It's done wonders for me, and I've been good so far. And I'm also good with cycle tracking. So that's also like, a calendar thing. You just track your cycle. But I say all that to, let people know, just be careful if you are on the pill. Watch out for any side effects. And if you are thinking about quitting and this video pops up in your recommended or pops up in whatever algorithm, I hope that, I hope it helps you, because I wish that I would have had this when I was on the pill, because I was absolutely dreadful. I hated myself. I hated everyone around me. I seriously hated being touched. It hurt like crazy. And I'm very glad that I'm off. I'm very glad, I'm glad that, I'm just on Prozac. And I'm very glad that, my libido came back too. Because I had talked to a nurse about it, because, like I said, I had talked to my gynecologist, and I was telling her, I can't do this anymore. This is driving me crazy. I don't have a libido anymore. I hate people touching me. And she was like, well, we might need to get some blood work done and stuff. And I'm like, I don't think this isn't normal. I think that I need to just get off the pill. That's what I want to do. And she said, oh, okay, well, all right. So that was a lot. But I had asked her, about BBT tracking, and I had talked to her a little bit about my tocophobia. And I guess doctors, I know there's a lot of shady doctors out there, but you'll never know what you're going to run into. So please choose wisely about OBGYNs and doctors and nurses. Please get good reviews, get good research on them, because sometimes you're going to meet someone who's just not going to care. And I have had that before, not a gynecologist. It was like just a regular doctor, but I was like upset. I was frustrated because she just was not listening to me on anything. So I really hated that. But like there was also this other lady who had once confused my period with a kidney stone. And I was like 17 when that happened. So, she to be fair, my period was just starting. So she was like, "Well, there's blood in your urine. I don't know what that means." And sure enough, I had started. So, just watch out for that stuff, is I guess what I'm trying to say here. And again, don't let anyone tell you what you should put in or put out of your body. It's your body at the end of everything. If you feel like you should take antidepressants, take antidepressants. If you feel like you want to be on birth control, be on birth control. If you don't want to be on anything and just be completely good, then whatever. I will say though that I don't want people to, abuse anything, so please listen to that. I'm not trying to get anyone, on anything. I'm not sitting here saying, I'm pro SSRI, but I am saying that, Prozac has really helped me in my premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And if you are on here and you have PMDD, I hope that you get the help you need as well. Because, like me with migraines, I had migraines really bad since I was born. I've had migraines really bad. And back in 2020, I got these bad boys. I don't know if you can see them. But yeah, I got those doth piercings, and I made a video on those too. I'm just saying there's always a solution to stuff sometimes. So just try to look at things that way. I know it's hard, but just try and I guess hope for the best. But I wanted to come on here and, talk about, birth control and its negative effects. And a lot of people don't talk about, the scary sides to birth control and just how bad some of it can be. So please do research on birth control before you just hop in and decide what you want to do with it, because it might not even be for you. So yeah, that's pretty much all I came on here for. So if you like this video, be sure you hit the like button. Also be sure you subscribe so that way I can get up to 600 subs. Also be sure you guys check out my other pages, as I got a lot of other content. Be sure you guys read my books, and again, be sure you subscribe, because I see a lot of you are not subscribed, and I'm actually surprised about this, but a lot of men actually watch my videos, so that's why I kind of put in like a PSA for girls, because yeah. But I love you, little androids. God bless. And remember, this isn't goodbye forever. This is just goodbye for now. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye. And by the way, before I go, I wanted to talk about the eclipse. So I hope people got good videos or good pictures of the eclipse. And I hope everyone kept their animals safe. And I hope everyone stayed safe during the eclipse, because this video will be posted after the eclipse happens. So yeah, just be careful out there, but I love you guys, and bye. And as for weight, after getting off the pill, I was 250, and I'm currently at 239, so that works too. So it definitely took about a month to definitely get all that weight off. It was a lot of work, and having that period really helped lose that weight. So
how come I'm not seeing anything?
How can you not see anything?
I don't know. Do you think my glasses are messed up?
What's up, little androids? I also wanted to say thank you for 500 subscribers. I love you guys so much, and hopefully I will have more videos out, more content for all of you. And this is just exciting. I am very happy that I'm halfway there, But thank you guys so much. I love my community. I love you guys. And I have no words. Thank you. And I know 500 doesn't sound like much, but it's a start. So, love you guys. God bless. And I'll see you guys later. Mwah.
That's a little thing.